Hello and welcome, everyone.
Hello. Happy
Welcome.
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Startup Tuesday is what we're going to start calling
Yes.
it.
Startup Tuesday.
I like it. So, thank you everyone for joining us. Everyone who stopped by and or came back to join us on this beautiful Tuesday morning. We are live. I am ThatKimberly.
And it's Deb with Josh Fingers. Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, we're here sharing our knowledge with everyone, sharing the tips and tricks as it relates to startups in multifamily, hoping to give you some great insight, direction, advice, resources, things that we learned along the way.
Yes.
So, what are we talking about
All
with
right.
that said today?
Today we are going to start off with some business plan conversation. Which is totally outside of my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to hear more about that and learn
And it's
more.
and it's
'Cause
something
I
that
know.
I didn't do until much later. So
That's yeah. I think that's interesting and like funny that I
at the
mean,
same
but
time,
important. It's important because at least now you can really speak to that
yeah.
and why it is so important to do that in the very beginning.
So
So
for sure. And before we do that, remember we are live on Facebook, that Kimberly's Facebook, Deb's personal Facebook, LinkedIn, and that Kimberly YouTube. So wherever you're watching, please make sure that if you have a question, comment, let us know. Also, where you're watching from, and if you watch on that replay, put in #replay, pretty please, and tell us where you're watching from, because that's important. And did I miss anything else?
nope. Make sure that you ask questions, leave
Yeah,
comments, reach out. The purpose of this is to put
help
information
you.
out there that is helpful for
Yeah,
our within our industry because we're going to stay in our lane.
yes.
Um,
Staying
so
in our lane and sharing is caring, sharing our knowledge.
yes, sharing is caring, and we want to bring all the info to you.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
we'll jump into it. This is just kind of 8, according to HubSpot. There's 8 things that belong in a business plan. So we're going to just review them on a high level. We're trying to keep this under 30 minutes. And we will be continuing the conversation by talking about the um, executive summary, describing your business and or your business model and your company, analyzing your market conditions. We're going to give you some resources there, explaining what your product or service is, outlining your operations and management roles. So #org chart, um, design, marketing, and sales strategy, which for us as salespeople, how frustrating do you get when there's no marketing strategy, right? No,
Mm-hmm.
it's not in the budget.
Yes.
The details on your financial plan, business cost funding, revenue projections, all that great stuff, and of course a good old appendix, which you know is
Yep.
important.
Absolutely. All
Correct.
right. So let's talk about this executive summary. That to
Um,
me immediately sounds overwhelming.
I could understand that, right? Like executive summary is something that I feel like can be interpreted different ways, but you always need to have your mission statement. And this is an example that HubSpot puts out on their website. They actually put a lot of great resources out for businesses in general, and HubSpot is a CRM marketing tool. They have a lot. There are a lot of different things now. They've definitely grown over the years. So I would highly recommend checking out if HubSpot is something for you. But they they talk about having a an executive summary. So in the executive summary, as you see here, it shows your mission statement, company and management at a high level, because you're going to go into detail in your business plan. And Deb, have you ever written a business plan?
No.
It's like an essay for college that you like it was painful for me. It was easier for, Janet and some others, but we didn't even write one until much, much later, until we had to go and fundraise. And that was
Mm,
first going to the SBA and then private fundraising. But I did not absolutely start with a business plan, which
mhm,
I, looking back, should have started with one and then expanded and updated every single year. So I always tell people now, you know, you got a great idea, great, do the research, make sure there's a market for it, and then and absolutely run your numbers. And when you run your numbers, that means doing a business plan as well. Um, so yeah, so you describe how you're going to make money. I can't tell you how many times people will pitch something, and I'm like, okay, so how do you make money? It's not the
mhm,
easiest. When they pitch the elevator pitch, you're like, huh? How do we make money, right?
mhm.
How many companies have you run into multifamily that, especially nowadays, that are service businesses, that when they tell you what they do, you still don't understand how they make money?
Right.
Are there a lot?
Yeah. No, there's definitely a few out there.
Yeah. And sometimes it's, even it's just saying, we don't charge you, we charge whoever,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Right.
that's how we make our money, because that's the first thing company, when you're pitching to, especially an executive multifamily, how do you make money? Well, how are you in business? Are you going to
Mhm.
be around, right? That's really important.
Right, right. Hmm.
So important. And
Okay.
then what's the next one we have?
Let's see. La la la. Let's see. Analyze your market's conditions.
Oh, yes. Market
Mhm.
conditions. Ooh, what happened here? Come back. Here we go. Sorry. Technology glitch. So I love it when new companies come into our industry, and they know nothing about the
Mhm.
industry, and they just think that apartments just have these huge budgets, right? Especially new ones, student housing
Mhm.
new ones, right? So this is a image from back in 2014 that showed the up and down market of off campus student housing, and student housing, FYI, is by the bed, not by the actual unit. So it's a whole different ball game, and that would
Right.
be a whole different episode on its own. That
Yeah.
we can
There's
do.
there's several companies too. Like
Hmm.
so specifically for multifamily, I know there's several data companies like
Hmm.
ALN, ADS. There's so many acronyms.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, ALN is one that,
mhm.
and all of them, the ALN has been around the longest,
Mhm.
and they definitely provide a great source of information about our industry across the United States, and everything
Mhm.
from student to residential, which means just um, everything but senior and
Mhm.
what am I looking for? Student,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that newer companies come into the industry and they have no idea that that even exists because I
Hmm.
don't even know how to function without that.
Yeah, yeah.
In
Well,
my
I didn't know about it until probably a year or two afterwards.
Mhm.
And companies like ALN are specific to multifamily. I mean, because I do know, just because now I get a lot of sales emails, that there are companies that sell just restaurant data. There are companies that
Mhm.
just sell, specific data, like HVAC data.
Mhm.
There are companies that are data companies specifically to certain industries, and that's what we have as well. So we always highly recommend, when you're doing your analyzing for your business plan, that you get the right
The
data.
right data. The
And
right data.
even by going to NMHC,
Mhm.
National Housing, I think that was one of the first sites that I found, was the let me just go there so people can see it. National and mm, Housing.
NMHC.
Why can't my coffee has not.
Mhm. It's because you're on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, National Multi-Family Housing Council. There we go. Come
There
on,
we
sister.
go.
Make those fingers work. NMHC. One of these days, we're going to do the acronyms as well.
I know.
So you can go to NMHC. You also, they give you high level, but you would have to be a member to pay for
Mhm.
more. But this is a great source of information, and as well as, if you can't afford to get, the any of the packages from any of the, companies like ALN or any of those that Deb mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
That my computer is running slow, but as you see, there's research and highlights. You can also go to the National Apartment Association, um, that
Mhm.
provides, and then each
Yes.
local also, right? They provide stats
Right.
on their cities. Correct? Am I?
I mean, you have, I mean, that, yeah, all of your associations, I mean, you have it from the local to the state to the national, and
Mhm.
each level has data. So,
So that's important to get for sure.
mhm.
Well, just like you said, you're baffled. I'm just as baffled when people decide that they're not going to get the right information, right?
Mhm.
To even pitch and do the right work, research work to put in for their business. So
Right, right.
it's,
That
um,
it's specifically for multifamily, if you are starting, like, you really need to dive into your association world. Like,
yeah.
you know, there's a lot to learn.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Even when it just comes down to, learning all the titles,
Hmm.
the levels that are within a multifamily company.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn. So you
Yeah.
need to get in there, hyper local, like, and learn.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to give a shout out to Susie. Thank you. She says she's no
Oh,
longer multifamily, but just wanted to jump in and say hello. Thank you from
aw.
AZ. She'll be back though.
I'll be back. They
Yeah,
always come back.
I'm back. Yes.
Mhm.
So that could be, that might be something that we do another
Mhm.
live on, right? About that sort of research work, those acronyms, the management companies, the titles, and
Mhm.
who's a decision maker on what level, and all those. Even though you should be talking, considering and making sure you talk to all levels, right? Like you shouldn't,
Mhm.
you know, ignore anyone, is what I always say.
Well, I know, but you
Yeah.
still have to know where you
Yeah.
need to dive in.
Correct. So, not to get down another rabbit hole,
Yes,
but
I know. We
yeah,
do it.
make sure you have your elevator pitch, right? Make sure you're, because especially when you're new, you're not going to get the chance to be able to pitch. People are going to give you 60 seconds or less.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine being a salesperson during the pandemic that came into multifamily, didn't know anybody, right? Like,
Right.
have we not had those conversations
Yes.
offline because
Yes.
people took your phone calls or responded to your text messages, or
Right.
things of that, because they knew who you were.
Right, right, and I just felt for the newbies out there, the new
Hmm.
companies, or just the company that hired the fresh new salesperson into the industry. They were just, I at a loss. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, people took my phone calls, and they met with me virtually. Like, I still did all of the things, but that was because I had 10 years prior
Hmm.
invested into this, and I just can't even imagine being a new person and trying to
Yeah.
figure out how I'm going to get in front of that person.
Yeah. So, and even then, you had to get, because they were so busy, right? You had to have
Mhm.
your explanation and pitch down in
Mhm.
less than 60 seconds so that they would give you 15 or 30 minutes, because people were so zoomed,
Mhm.
tight, like their meetings
Right.
were back to back. I mean,
Everybody was completely overwhelmed
for
too,
sure.
so you had to go in and you had to be quick. It
Yeah,
felt
for
like
sure. Yeah.
very
So
interesting.
that's very important. Have your elevator pitch down both in writing and in video. And now there's no reason that you can't create a video. I mean, Canva will let you create it, short snippets. There was also Prezi was one that is definitely coming back that I've seen. You can
Prezi?
Prezi, yeah, Prezi.com. I prefer Canva as because
Yeah.
they've stepped up their game, just like you
Mhm.
prefer them as well. But and then you can also hire a contractor, or you can do it on your phone. You can do it on TikTok. Like,
Mhm.
OMG, you could totally go
Do
to TikTok,
anything.
create a little short 60-second elevator pitch, or even 3 minutes now, right? And
Mhm.
create a video on TikTok. People, TikTok,
Yes.
TikTok. So
TikTok.
Okay,
They
that's
make
nice.
it so easy right there in your hand. All of the easiest editing tools are just right
Ever.
there.
Right there for sure. I don't care what people say. Yes, right?
I know.
Okay, and then there is the org chart. Let's go. Let me share,
Mhm.
which I thought was really funny that they not funny, but haha, but like that that this was something that was because again, like I'm saying, we didn't create an org chart till much later, right? But there's so much benefit in it
Mhm.
because I'm trying to expand it so you can see. And of course, everybody's org chart are going to be different because, like this one, I'm sure was something online. So they had their founder, who was also either general manager or CEO. I do remember not telling everybody I was the president since I was the
Mhm.
first salesperson. So, and then we had more editors and videographers. And then Janet, was also sales and operations. So I was sales marketing, and she was, operations and marketing and we put a lot of different hats on. So that's
Mhm.
my point is
Right.
we didn't do our org chart till later when we had salespeople, but still you should probably put it in there. So one for onboarding, right? And it
Right.
makes it also makes crystal clear for your organization to understand the reporting system and the hierarchy because you don't know, right? Like who's
Mhm.
supposed to go, especially if you have two founders,
Right.
it makes it harder. And then the workload so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Obviously this isn't one that's there are templates out there. I believe it was, who did I tell you had
Yes.
templates? Monday.com, their CRM as well. And they do a lot of other things too now. They're not just a CRM. I think they started as a processing software that helped with how your
Mhm.
product moves along, but they've expanded since then.
Right,
So
right.
they're
They've come a long ways too.
yeah,
They have a lot to offer.
yeah, and their blog is really good. So, but they give you examples of org charts, and then they also give you an example of how to create your org chart. Here's a different org chart, like a
Mhm.
line functional organizational chart. That's more on the president, more the traditional, I guess, president, vice president, legal advisor, vice president of sales, things of that sort, right? So everybody's going to be different, but you definitely need to create one and then update it as the years go on.
Right.
Um, what else am I missing? Was that helpful when you got hired at your new place?
Yes. I just think that an org chart just helps organize. Like
Hmm.
it just creates if you have a good clear org chart, there's no like drama, like it can diffuse a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, I
No.
think that it's important to have people like in different lanes.
Hmm.
Not that collaboration isn't possible, but
Yeah.
sometimes you can have too many hands in one pot.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
And that's not that also doesn't, that's poor time management as well. So.
Yes. Yes. That helps the executives know that,
Mhm.
hey, where to direct other people or delegate because that's not, time is of the essence when you're a startup.
Mhm.
And if you have your hands in too many things, you're not getting anything done, right?
Right. Yeah, so you
Um,
have to divide and conquer.
correct. And having meetings just to have meetings, the org chart will
Mhm.
help, I feel, with that, right? So you're not
Right.
everybody doesn't have to be on certain meetings if this doesn't have anything to do with you, right? I know
Right.
that's hard sometimes, and you could find another tool like that updates people, like whether it's a like Monday.com or anything like that that
Trello. Have
gives
you used
notes.
Trello
Trello,
before?
yeah, Trello's another resource.
Mhm.
Trello.com will help as well so that people know and can be kept up. Slack is another tool that people could use. But that's more of an ongoing communication tool. But you
Right.
have channels. We would put things into different channels for the salespeople, for the production
Mhm.
people, for the editors, so that
Right.
they knew where to go if they didn't know something.
Yeah,
So
we use Slack currently, and I
you
love
do,
it because we
yeah.
have the channels, we'll have a marketing channel and a sales channel and
So you have there's a place for you to go and find those resources, right? Or those
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
ongoing information.
Right.
Um, so before we go to our next thing, we have a question from Brandon. Thank you,
Yes.
Brandon. How many pages should his business plan be? Well, that depends on who you're talking to. um,
What's
So
appropriate?
I feel it's not about the number of pages, but it's about the quality and the resource content that
Mhm.
you have behind it. Obviously, investors like bankers are probably going to be the only ones that read or flip through the whole entire thing, and they're really going to read your executive summary, and then maybe go through some of your market stuff and then go to the numbers. Your investors go boom, 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 and just go, okay, let me look at the numbers. How much do you need? And what's your
Mhm.
margins? And when am I getting my money back? Basically, what's
Right.
your exit strategy? So, um, we went from a business plan that was like in the very beginning 50 pages, because this is pre online, right?
Mhm.
Having to figure this out, to probably 24 and a deck of 10 images. And then we always provided and left some sort of booklet that they could reference back to the appendix that said, here's what backs up our slide number 10, or here's what backs up our market survey, whatever it was, here's the data and where we got it from to back this up. So
Mhm.
you have to be able to, or you should be, because that's ethical business, being able to
Right.
provide this information to people and know that they're not, that it's true and honest information. Um,
Well, and thanks to Google, you can see all the variations of business
Absolutely.
plans, I'm sure. So,
Absolutely. So the next thing, the under number 6 that they say is um, designing a market and sales strategy. I always like
yeah.
to tell people, please don't be fooled. If you build it, they will not just come. If you
Nope.
don't put marketing money in your budget and have salespeople to beat that drum of your product or your service, it's going to take you a lot longer than if
Mhm.
unless like it's just one of those like products and that is just people, just it's a demand, it's a need, but it is, you have to be meeting that demand. But it does take, even it's grassroots social media marketing, like you
Mhm.
have to put in that
Have
type
to
of
have,
stuff.
yes. You
What
have
is
to
your
account for that. You
what's
have to.
your
Hmm?
what's your 2 cents on that?
I just, as a salesperson, I know
Mhm.
that it's very frustrating and difficult to come in and not have a budget.
Mhm.
It just makes things harder,
Yeah.
and I just think planning that appropriately just sets up your sales team to be successful
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to go into a market and you hire a salesperson. I've known salespeople that got hired from a company outside of Texas, but then their hands were tied because the company did not allow them to spend any money. And
Mhm.
for multifamily, we spent like our marketing budget was like maybe 250,000, and that was towards the end, and that was a small marketing budget. Like, can you
Mhm.
imagine what people spent, like the bigger, even middle to bigger sized companies,
Spend a
you know,
lot. Yeah.
spent a lot of money on marketing, and that, trade shows,
Mhm.
client events,
Sure.
happy hours, breakfast, all that is,
Right.
tchotchkes,
Mhm.
ads, everything.
Everything.
If
Yeah.
you tie your salesperson's hands by not giving them even a minimal marketing budget to stay within,
Mhm.
then that does nothing but hurt them.
Right.
You
I
know,
completely agree with that. You have.
especially when you're trying to reach new people, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
Right, right. I mean, because it takes some money. So.
yeah, especially in multifamily. I really
Mhm.
used to tell people it took us 3 years to make our first sale, and almost probably 5 to 6 years to break even. So you have to plan for that, and that's what a business plan is
Mhm.
about, is being able to see that progression
Mhm.
and plan and estimate. Laura says, I consider my audience when preparing my business plan. And thanks. Great question, Brandon. Yes, we agree.
Mhm.
Um, but the number, I found this article on Investopedia. Can you
Mhm.
guess how many um, how many reasons they put out but why new businesses fail? Like, just guess a number.
Um,
They won't
4.
count. Well, I have four that I'm going to talk about, but there's
No.
six. total that they but the two didn't relate
I
to
didn't
us.
know we were playing trivia today,
Oh,
Kimberly.
sorry, my bad.
No, I'm just kidding.
Um, so one is because there was business plan problems, right?
Mhm.
They didn't, they didn't,
Mm,
they over projected. They didn't have achievable goals. It was just a bunch of fluff, right? Like it just
right.
wasn't. They didn't do the research or surveys, all those things. Not enough money or funding.
Mhm.
I always tell people to run their budgets and then add a nut. Like, so if you're going to ask for, if you think it's 2 million, then add, double that, ask for four, but put two of it away and don't touch it. Just, you get to go back to it. Right. Because being
Right.
underfunded, can you imagine those people who just started pre-COVID and
Right.
then all of a sudden, slam, COVID
Calm
happens?
down. Right.
What do? You don't have any
Right.
money to pivot. You don't know, I
Mhm.
mean, smaller companies can't, but it's still, it's
Yeah,
stressful.
it's a challenge. Yeah.
You have employees, especially.
Right. And then
Um, they say no marketing. Well, they put bad location, internet presence, and marketing all together.
mhm.
But you can just, that's self-explanatory, right? That
Right.
like remaining
Remaining
rich.
rigid. Mhm.
And who is the biggest example of that?
Blockbuster.
There we go, sister.
Yes.
Documentary on Blockbuster on Netflix was pretty awesome. Just highly recommend you go
Mhm.
watching it.
Yep. Didn't wanna
Uh,
pivot.
yeah. They thought that they laughed at Netflix, which I think is
You have to pivot. I mean, even the company that I work with, we did a pivot during, COVID,
mm,
So, I mean, we had to think outside the box.
yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, so you cannot be rigid
Hmm.
in today's environment.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. And then the last one is expanding too fast, right?
Yes.
I do know some companies that, will remain nameless that are no longer around that raised a bunch of money, burned through, didn't know what their burn rate actually was, and go
Mhm.
Google what burn rate means. And that they went right through it. They went through
Right.
the millions of dollars that they had raised. We raised $1 million and stretched that over a 3-year period. We didn't need to ask for any more money. And, like it was, and even before that, we were running on, bootstrapped as you can get, and credit
Mhm.
cards. So it was definitely something that if you don't, if you and your whole entire team don't, um, have that
Yeah.
the same mindset, and you don't have the transparency with with your team about money, then there,
Mhm.
it can
It
definitely.
could end very poorly. Yes.
Correct.
Jo
Absolutely. One.
Jordan Moore commented, he said, "2020 taught us all about pivoting and how important it is." Yes.
Yes, she did. Thank you,
Yes,
Jordan. We
it
agree.
did. If you did not learn that
Mhm.
during this last
Time.
couple of years, then I
Yes.
don't know why I don't even know how you're gonna survive.
Yeah.
Out of this car. I don't
Yeah.
get it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. Um, and number 7 that they listed, that HubSpot listed, was have a detailed financial plan with business costs, funding, and revenue projections, which in itself could be a whole model. I think I was pulling one up. I don't know if I ever found one that was, but we did 5-year projections. We did, let me see if one came up. Let me see if I could get one. But like I said before, I said I tell people to run their numbers and then they double it,
Mhm,
because you just never know what's going to happen. Um, and then also you should be, I think,
mhm.
can I show this one?
Budget
Yeah,
budget all of the yeah, the budget
but
is huge. Like,
yeah.
knowing, you need to be able to spend the money on the data to get the information that you need,
Hmm.
um, to do business, as
Yeah. And
and
budgeting for association
mhm,
stuff
mhm,
or for management events. If you
mhm,
can't go to association stuff and you start getting some of the bigger clients or get some management companies in the door that they're, they're going to start asking you to sponsor, you need to budget those
mhm.
dollars.
I love how
Um,
you talk about with fundraising, finding like-minded investors because
it is very, very important, um, that, you know, I didn't even know what that meant until
mhm,
later, because when we were invested for our losses, and not that they wanted anything ill will of us, but they wanted to offset their investments from the year. And so, but then we started going into the positive, and they weren't we weren't on the same page anymore, right? Like we
Mhm.
were all about like taking off, and that's why again, if we had asked for the 2 million, I only asked for 1 million, but I should have asked for 2 and let
Mhm.
it sit in the bank. So
Right.
because it definitely started to cause some of that friction in when we were deciding on our exit. So
Right.
like-minded investors are super super important. There are many stories out there about not having like-minded investors.
Mhm.
A McDonald's guy is one of them. um, Actually, he was a crook, cheap dude, but that's on.
That's another show.
Yeah, that's on Netflix as well. Yeah, we could do a whole series on that
Mhm.
one for sure. And then also um, actual revenue versus projections, right? Like being realistic is important. Don't
Mhm.
add the fluff, right? Like
Right.
especially for sale, like being, head of sales, you want your salespeople not to send you a bunch of
Mhm.
fluffy deals that are not ever going to close, right? Because then
Right,
you got to
right.
report up.
I want the real biz. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And at the end of the year, if you're doing your business plan every year, they're going to see that the projections are fluff,
Mhm.
right? Like
Right.
it's ridiculous. And
Right.
I mean, it'll be something that it's on our next um, section of business plan when it comes to the whole accounts receivable, legal, and all that other
Mhm.
operational things on the back end. That if you're not having actual numbers, then that's going to hurt you in
Mhm.
the end as well.
Yeah.
So, and then last but not least, it's having an appendix for this
Mhm.
whole thing. So if you do have a big, even if it's only 10 pages, you should still have an appendix because that's what they're going to want to go look for, right? They're going to go straight to see
Mhm.
where exactly like if it's 3 things they want to look at, they're going to go look and see, okay, I want to go this page. They don't want to guess because
Mhm.
they feel time is money, which
Right. And
it's
Laura's
absolutely true.
right. You don't want your salespeople to feel defeated before they even get started. You want to have attainable goals.
Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. We totally agree.
We are out of time.
I know. But just a real quick tip. HubSpot has templates for free, for free. Back in the day, we actually paid somebody to help us with this because this was pre template, but Google is your mother, people. So please
Mhm.
go there. I always share my information with people because I don't want them to be in the same position. I feel
Mhm.
like there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that will share their, if they're no longer in that business anymore, they'll definitely give you tips, tricks, templates, whatever. But HubSpot gives you free templates and that you
Mhm.
can use and manipulate and move around. And so does Canva. They might have
Yes.
a couple, right? But not as detailed as HubSpot. Anyways, so I know we're out of time. We appreciate everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much. You guys rock. I didn't mean to. I wanted to just say thank you to Jordan, Laura, Brandon, and Susie for
Susie.
stopping. Yes. Next week we have on Stephanie Graves, right?
Mhm. Yes, and she's going to talk a startup from the other side of our
The
business.
management side, yes, absolutely. So please join us same time Tuesday at 11:30, and then Deb will pick this conversation up with the whole legal accounting aspect on episode 4 of Startups. But we're
Yep.
going to get startups from the management perspective from Stephanie next week, so we're excited about that.
Yay.
So
Again, like thank
yes,
you guys. Thanks
thanks
everyone for
everyone.
joining.
Yes,
Yes, make sure it hashtag replay.
yeah. And
Hashtag
if you know
replay.
somebody that should be on, or if you want to be on, please email either one of us, Kimberly at Marketing Doer or
Mhm.
Deborah at one at
Guaranteed.
guarantee.com for sure, or go to Google and just put in our hashtags to see more on that. Hashtag it's Deb. I need to change that one.
Yeah,
So,
it's dead.
okay.
All
We're
right.
going over 5 minutes. Bye, guys. Have a great
Bye.
rest
Thank
of the week.
you.
Bye.